The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Queen Yura of the Valorian Empire had found the human who saved her life. She had knelt before him in a wheat field. And now she was calling for the greatest peace summit in galactic history. On 100 different worlds, people watched their screens in shock. Valorians, humans, and dozens of other species all stopped what they were doing to hear the announcement. For too long, Queen Yura said. Standing before cameras in the great hall of her palace, we have fought. We have killed. We have destroyed. And for what? Power? Territory? Pride? She paused, letting her words sink in. 20 years ago, I was saved by a human. A simple medic named Taiho. He asked nothing from me. He expected nothing. He simply saw someone in pain and chose to help. That one act of kindness changed my life. It showed me what is possible when we choose compassion over cruelty. Taiho watched from his small farmhouse on Era 7. He had refused to attend the announcement in person. He did not like crowds or attention. But Yura had given him a special screen so he could watch from home. Today, Yura continued, I am calling all species to a peace summit. Humans, Valorians, and everyone else. We will end our conflicts. We will sign treaties. We will build a new future together. This is not just my wish as a queen. This is my promise to the man who taught me the true meaning of strength. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Some species welcomed the summit with open arms. The humans were especially excited. They had been a small species, caught in the wars of larger empires. A peace treaty would change everything for them. Others were suspicious. The Krath refugees, survivors of the destroyed empire, thought it was a trick. Old Valorian generals complained that their queen was showing weakness. Rival powers in distant galaxies watched carefully, waiting to see what would happen. But Yura did not care about the critics. She had made a promise, and she would keep it. 3 months later, the peace summit began on the neutral space station called Unity Point. It was the largest gathering of species in recorded history. Diplomats from over 50 worlds filled the great conference hall. Cameras broadcast the event to trillions of viewers across the galaxy. And in the center of it all sat Taiho. He had not wanted to come. He had argued with Yura for weeks. He was just a farmer, he said. He did not belong in such an important place. But Yura had insisted. This summit exists because of you, she told him. The galaxy should know your face, your story, your example. So Taiho put on a simple suit, combed his gray hair, and traveled to Unity Point. He sat in a special chair beside Yura's throne, feeling completely out of place among the powerful leaders of the galaxy. General Doan, Yura's advisor, stood at the podium and called the summit to order. We are gathered here today to end centuries of conflict, Doan announced. Queen Yura will now address the assembly. Yura stood, her starlight robes flowing around her. She looked at the gathered diplomats, then at Taiho, then back at the crowd. Many of you are wondering why I called this summit, she said. You think it is politics, strategy, some kind of trick to gain advantage. I understand your suspicion. Our history has been filled with such tricks. She walked slowly across the stage. But this is not a trick. This is a truth that I learned 20 years ago, from a human who had every reason to hate me and my kind. She gestured toward Taiho. Thousands of eyes turned to look at the old man. During the galactic siege, humans suffered greatly. They were caught between empires, their colonies destroyed, their people killed. Taiho had seen his friends die. He had treated wounds caused by Valorian weapons. He had every reason to leave me bleeding in that tunnel. Yura's voice grew stronger, but he did not. He saved me. He carried me. He protected me from my own soldiers. And when I asked him why, he said something I will never forget. He said, because you were hurt. That is enough reason. She let the words hang in the air. That is the foundation of peace, she continued. Not treaties, not agreements, not threats or promises. Simply the choice to see suffering and respond with compassion. The choice to help, even when it costs you everything. Taiho felt his face grow hot. He was not used to such praise. He just wanted to go back to his farm. But something amazing happened. Next up, the human delegation stood. Their leader, a woman named Minji, stepped forward. 20 years ago, I was a child on planet Mira 6, she said. My family was killed in the siege. I spent years hating the Valorians, hating all aliens. But today, seeing Queen Yura and Taiho together, I realized something. She turned to look at Yura directly. Hate only breeds more hate. But kindness can change everything. If a simple human medic can change a Valorian princess into a queen who calls for peace, then maybe we can all change. Maybe we can all be better. She bowed to Yura. The human delegation supports this summit. We are ready to sign. One by one, other species followed. The delegates stood and declared their support. Even the suspicious ones, even the angry ones, found themselves moved by the story of Taiho and why Yura. By the end of the day, the greatest peace treaty in galactic history was ready. It was called the Taiho Accord, named after the man who inspired it. Taiho tried to refuse the honor. He said they should call it something else, something important. But Yura would not listen. This treaty will save billions of lives, she said. It will end wars that have lasted for generations. And it exists because of you. Your name deserves to be remembered. The signing ceremony was simple but powerful. Each leader came forward and placed their mark on the treaty. Humans, Valorians, and dozens of other species, all united by a single document. When it was Taiho's turn, he hesitated. I am not a leader, he said. Should I really sign this? Yura smiled and handed him the pen. You are the most important person in this room. Sign. With shaking hands, Taiho wrote his name, his simple human signature, next to the marks of queens and emperors and presidents. When he finished, the hall erupted in cheers. Millions of viewers across the galaxy celebrated. Wars that had lasted centuries were officially over. A new era of peace had begun. Later that night, Taiho and Yura stood alone on a balcony of Unity Point, looking out at the stars. I still cannot believe this, Taiho said quietly. All of this because I helped one person. Yura nodded. That is the power of kindness. It ripples outward. One act becomes two. 2 becomes 10. 10 becomes millions. You started a ripple 20 years ago. Today, it became a wave. Taiho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You could have done this without me. You are the queen. You have the power. Yura shook her head. I have power because of you. Everything I am, everything I have done, started in that tunnel. You are not just a farmer from Era 7. Taiho, you are the heart of this piece. She reached out and took his old, weathered hand in her smooth silver one. I offered you palaces and wealth, she said. You asked for peace. And now I realize that was the greatest gift you could have given. Not to yourself, but to everyone. Taiho looked at their hands together. Human and Valorian. Old and ancient. Simple and powerful. What happens now? He asked. Now we build, Yura said. Schools, hospitals, bridges between worlds. We take this piece and turn it into something real. Something that will last forever. She smiled at him. And you, old friend, will help me. Whether you like it or not. Taiho laughed softly. It was the first time he had laughed like that in years. I suppose I do not have a choice, he said. No, Yura agreed. You do not. Together, they stood on the balcony, and watched the stars. Behind them, the galaxy celebrated the end of an age of war. Before them lay a future of peace, and it had all started with one simple choice. One moment of kindness. One human who decided to help a stranger in pain. That was the power of humanity. Not weapons or technology or strength. Just the simple, stubborn belief that kindness mattered. That every life was worth saving. That one person could change the universe, and they could. Taiho stood frozen in his wheat field, the basket of vegetables still in his hands. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might burst. Before him stood the most beautiful and terrifying thing he had ever seen. A massive alien warship had landed in his field, crushing months of his hard work beneath its metal body. Soldiers in silver armor had poured out, forming lines on both sides. And in the middle of it all, walking toward him like something from a dream, was a tall alien woman in robes made of starlight. Her skin was pale silver, glowing softly in the afternoon sun. Her hair was white as fresh snow, flowing down her back like a river. Her eyes were violet, deep, and ancient. A crown of crystal sat on her head, catching the light and throwing rainbows across the crushed wheat. Taiho did not recognize her. How could he? 20 years had passed. He was old now, 73 years old, with gray hair and a bad back. He had lived a simple life, far from war, far from aliens, far from everything. He had tried to forget, but then she spoke. "Hello, Taiho. It has been a long time." His name. She knew his name. And her voice. There was something familiar about her voice. Something that pulled at old memories he had buried deep in his heart. Taiho's voice failed him. He swallowed and tried again. "I am sorry, but do I know you?" The alien woman smiled. It was a sad smile, full of years and memories. "You carried me," she said softly, "through a burning forest. For 3 days. You told me stories about your home, about the ocean, about the smell of salt in the morning air." Taiho felt his knees go weak. The basket fell from his hands. Vegetables rolled across the dirt. "Yura," he whispered. "Princess Yura?" "Queen now," she said. "But yes, I am Yura." For a long moment, neither of them moved. The soldiers stood silent. The wind blew gently through what remained of the wheat field. Somewhere in the distance, a bird sang. Then Yura did something that shocked everyone watching. She knelt down the queen of the Valorian Empire. Ruler of 1,000 worlds, commander of the greatest military in the galaxy, knelt before an old human farmer in a dusty field. Her soldiers gasped. General Dohan stepped forward, his hand on his weapon, unsure what was happening. This was impossible. This was unheard of. A queen did not kneel before anyone, but Yura did not care. "Taiho," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "For 20 years, I have searched for you. For 20 years, I have carried the memory of what you did. You saved my life. You asked for nothing in return. You stood between me and my own soldiers when they wanted to kill me. You were willing to die for a stranger." Tears formed in her violet eyes. For Valorians, tears were rare. They were a sign of the deepest emotion. "I never got to thank you," she continued. "I never got to repay my debt. I woke up on a medical ship, and you were gone. I searched and searched, but I could not find you. The records were lost. Your name was erased. It was as if you had never existed." Taiho looked down at her, this powerful queen kneeling in the dirt. He felt something break inside him. All those years of trying to forget, of telling himself it did not matter, of living quietly and asking nothing from anyone. All of it crumbled away. "Please," he said, reaching down. "Please stand up. You do not need to kneel to me." Yura looked up at him. "You do not understand. In Valorian culture, a debt of life is the greatest debt there is. It cannot be measured. It cannot be forgotten. I owe you everything I am, everything I have become. Without you, I would be bones in a collapsed tunnel on a dead planet. Taiho took her hand gently. It was cool and smooth, like touching glass. He helped her to her feet. I did not save you for thanks, he said. I did not save you for reward. I saved you because it was the right thing to do. I know, Yura said. That is what makes it so extraordinary. That is what makes you extraordinary. She looked at him, really looked at him, seeing the years written on his face. Humans age so quickly. His hair was gray. His skin was lined with wrinkles. But his eyes were still kind, still gentle. Still the same eyes that had looked at her in the darkness and said, I want to help you. I never forgot you, she said. Every night for 20 years, I thought about you. I wondered where you were. I wondered if you were happy. I wondered if you ever thought about me. Taiho was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, a small, sad smile. I thought about you, he admitted. More than I should have. After the war, I tried to find you too. But I was nobody. A medic with no connections. I could not exactly walk up to the Valorian palace and ask to see the princes. He laughed softly. So I came here, to this quiet little world. I grew wheat. I raised chickens. I lived simply. But I never forgot those 3 days. I never forgot you. Yura felt her heart swell. 20 years of searching. 20 years of wondering. And here was the answer. He had thought of her too. He had remembered. Come, she said suddenly. Come with me. I want to show you something. She led him toward her ship. The soldiers parted before them, still shocked by what they had witnessed. Inside the ship, everything was beautiful and strange. Lights floated in the air. The walls shifted colors like living things. Music played from somewhere, soft and ancient. They walked through corridors until they reached a large room with a massive window. Through the window, Taiho could see space. Stars sparkled like diamonds on black velvet. Moons and planets hung in the distance. But that was not what Yura wanted to show him. On the wall of the room were pictures. Hundreds of pictures. And they were all of him. The blurry photograph from the data tablet. Old military records with his face circled. Maps of planets he had lived on. Notes and reports and searches that had gone on for 20 years. This is my search room, Yura said quietly. Every time my agents found a clue, I added it here. I spent hours in this room, looking at these pictures, trying to find you. Taiho walked slowly along the wall, looking at the evidence of her search. He saw his old military ID, his medical license, even a picture of his mother's house on Earth. You did all this, he said, amazement in his voice. For me? I told you, Yura said. A debt of life is the greatest debt. And you are not just anyone. You are the human who showed me something I had never seen before. What was that? Kindness without reason. Courage without reward. You made me believe that goodness exists in the universe. That not everyone wants something. That some people are simply good. Taiho turned to look at her. In the soft light of the ship, she looked younger somehow. Less like a queen and more like the frightened princess he had found in the ruins. I am just an ordinary man, he said. Yura shook her head. No, you are proof that there is no such thing as ordinary. Every person carries the potential for greatness. You showed me that. And because of you, I became a better person. A better leader. A better queen. She stepped closer to him. Everything good I have done, she said, I did because of you. Every time I chose mercy over cruelty, kindness over power, peace over war. I did it because I remembered a human medic who carried a stranger through fire and asked for nothing. Taiho felt tears forming in his old eyes. He had spent 20 years thinking he was forgotten, thinking that what he did meant nothing, thinking that he was just a small man in a big universe. But he was wrong. "Stay with me," Yura said suddenly. "Come back to Valoria. Let me give you the life you deserve. A palace, servants, anything you want." Taiho smiled and shook his head slowly. "I am too old for palaces," he said. "I like my small farm, my simple life." Yura's face fell slightly. "Then what can I give you? There must be something you want. Something I can do." Taiho thought for a long moment. He looked out the window at the stars. He thought about all the years he had lived, all the things he had seen. And then he knew. "There is one thing," he said. "But it is not for me." "Tell me," Yura said eagerly. Taiho looked at her with those kind, gentle eyes. "Peace," he said, "between humans and Valorians, between all the species in the galaxy. No more war, no more burning forests, no more wounded princesses and forgotten soldiers. Just peace." Yura stared at him. He could have asked for anything: wealth, power, immortality. And he asked for peace. Not for himself, but for everyone. She smiled, and it was the most genuine smile she had shown in 20 years. "Done," she said. 20 years had passed since the Galactic Siege. The war had ended. The Krath Empire had fallen, and the Valorian Empire had grown stronger than ever before. In the great palace on planet Valoria Prime, Princess Yura stood before a massive mirror. Today was the day of her coronation. Her father, the old emperor, had died peacefully in his sleep 3 months ago. Now it was her turn to lead. Servants moved around her, adjusting her royal robes. The fabric was made of starlight thread, a material so rare that only the royal family could wear it. A crown of crystal and silver was placed on her head. She looked beautiful, powerful, and cold. But inside, Yura felt empty. She had spent 20 years searching. 20 years looking for one face in a galaxy of trillions. The human medic who had saved her life. The man who had carried her through fire and asked for nothing in return. Taiho. She remembered his name. She remembered his voice. She remembered the stories he told her in that dark cave while the world burned around them. She remembered the warmth of his back as he carried her through the forest, but she could not find him. After the rescue, Yura had been taken to a medical ship. She was unconscious for weeks. When she woke up, the war had moved to another planet. The records of that day were lost or destroyed. No one knew the name of the human medic. No one remembered him. Yura had asked her father to find him. The emperor had sent soldiers to search, but they found nothing. The human colonies were in chaos. Millions of people were moving from planet to planet. One small medic was impossible to locate. Years passed. Yura grew older and stronger. She learned politics, warfare, and diplomacy. She became the perfect princess. But she never stopped searching. Every year, she sent secret agents to look for him. Every year, they returned with nothing. "Your Majesty," a voice interrupted her thoughts. It was General Dohan, her most trusted advisor. He was old and wise, with silver marks on his face that showed his many battles. "The ceremony will begin soon." Yura nodded slowly. "I am ready, are you?" Dohan asked gently. He had known her since she was a child. He was one of the few who knew about her secret search. "You seem distant today." Yura looked at her reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at her was a queen. But somewhere inside, she was still that wounded princess in a collapsed tunnel, looking up at a human with kind eyes. "I made a promise," she said quietly. 20 years ago, I promised myself that I would find him. I would thank him properly. I would repay my debt." "Your Majesty, with respect," Dohan said carefully. He was human. Humans live short lives. Perhaps he is already? Do not say it. Yura's voice was sharp. He is alive. I know it. I can feel it. Dawan bowed his head. As you wish. The coronation was magnificent. Thousands of Valorians gathered in the great hall to watch their new queen take the throne. Leaders from dozens of alien species sent representatives. Even the humans, now a growing power in the galaxy, sent a small group of diplomats. Yura sat on the crystal throne and accepted the crown of her ancestors. She spoke the ancient words. She made the sacred promises. And when the ceremony was complete, she was no longer Princess Yura. She was Queen Yura, ruler of the Valorian Empire. The crowd cheered. Music filled the hall. But Yura felt nothing. After the celebration, she returned to her private chambers. She removed her crown and sat by the window, looking at the stars. Where are you? She whispered. Where are you, Taiho? A knock came at her door. It was Dowan again. Your Majesty, I have news. Yura turned. There was something different in Dowan's eyes. Something like hope. What is it? Dowan stepped forward and placed a small data tablet on her desk. Our agents found something. It is not confirmed, but there is a human on Colony Era 7, a farmer. He matches the description you gave us. Yura's heart stopped. For a moment, she could not breathe. Show me, she said. Dowan activated the tablet. A picture appeared. It was old and blurry, taken from a distance. It showed a man working in a wheat field. He was older now, with gray in his hair. His face had more lines, but his eyes were the same. Those kind, gentle eyes that had looked at her in the darkness and said, I want to help you. Taiho, Yura breathed. We are not certain, Dawan said. It could be someone else. Colony Era 7 is a small farming world. There are many humans there, but Yura knew. In her heart, she knew. Prepare my ship, she said. Dowan looked surprised. Your Majesty, you cannot travel alone. You are the queen now. There are security concerns, political obligations. Then bring the entire fleet, Yura said. She stood up, and for the first time in 20 years, there was fire in her eyes. I have waited long enough. I will not wait another day. Dawan studied her for a moment. Then he smiled. As you command, Your Majesty. Within hours, the royal fleet was ready. 50 warships, carrying 10,000 soldiers. It was the largest movement of Valorian military power since the war. Diplomats from other species sent worried messages, asking why the new queen was mobilizing her forces. Were they preparing for war? Was there a threat? Yura ignored them all. As her ship rose into the sky, she stood at the viewing window and watched her planet grow smaller behind her. She thought about everything that had happened. The war, the rescue, the years of searching. And she thought about him. What would he think when he saw her? Would he even remember? 20 years was a long time for humans. Their lives were so short, so fragile. Maybe he had forgotten her. Maybe he had a family now. A wife, children, a life that had nothing to do with her, but it did not matter. She did not come to take him away or change his life. She came to fulfill a promise. She came to repay a debt. She came to say the words she should have said 20 years ago. Thank you. The journey to Colony Era 7 took 5 days. Yura spent those days thinking, planning, and remembering. She looked at the blurry picture of the farmer again and again. She imagined their meeting in her mind 1,000 times. Your Majesty, Dowan said on the last day, we are entering the Eris system. We will arrive at the colony within the hour. Yura took a deep breath. Good. How do you wish to approach? Should we send scouts first? Contact the local authorities? Yura shook her head. No. Take me directly to him. I have waited 20 years. I will not wait another minute. The ship descended through the clouds of Erith 7. Below them was a simple world. Green fields stretched to the horizon. Small houses dotted the landscape. There were no great cities, no tall buildings. Just farms and forests and quiet villages. It was peaceful, beautiful, the kind of place where someone might go to forget. There, Yura said, pointing to a small farm near a river. That is where he is. The ship landed in the wheat field, crushing the golden stalks beneath its weight. The door opened, and Yura stepped out into the sunlight. And there he was, standing at the edge of his field, a basket of vegetables in his hands, looking at the massive alien, warship with confusion and fear. Taeho. Older, grayer, but still the same. Yura walked toward him, her royal robes flowing behind her. Her guards followed, but she raised a hand to stop them. She wanted to face him alone. She stopped a few steps away from him. He was looking at her with wide eyes. He did not recognize her. Of course, he did not. She had changed so much. She was no longer the wounded princess, bleeding in a tunnel. She was a queen now, but she remembered. She remembered everything. "Hello, Taeho," she said softly. "It has been a long time." The sky was burning. Taeho could see the orange and red flames eating the forest around him. He was running, his boots heavy with mud, his medical bag bouncing against his hip. He was just a medic, not a soldier. He had never fired a weapon in his life. But today, none of that mattered. The galactic siege had been going on for 3 months. Humans were caught in the middle of a war between two alien empires. The Valorians and the Krath were ancient enemies, and Earth's colonies had become their battlefield. Taeho was stationed on planet Mira 6, helping wounded soldiers from both sides. He did not care about politics or war. He only cared about saving lives. That morning, everything changed. Taeho had been collecting medical supplies from a destroyed building when he heard a sound. It was soft, like a wounded animal. He followed the sound into a collapsed tunnel. There, under broken metal and stone, he found her. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, almost glowing. Her hair was white like fresh snow, and her eyes were large and violet. She was bleeding badly from her side. Her royal armor was cracked and burned. Taeho knew immediately who she was. He had seen pictures of the Valorian royal family in the news. This was Princess Yura, the youngest daughter of the Valorian emperor. She looked at him with fear in her eyes. She tried to move away, but she was too weak. Her hand reached for a small blade at her belt. "Please," Taeho said softly. He raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "I am a medic. I want to help you." Yura did not trust him. Humans were unknown to her people. They were considered primitive, weak, and unimportant. But she had no choice. She was dying. "If you betray me," she whispered in broken English, "my people will destroy your entire species." Taeho smiled gently. "Then I better not betray you." He worked quickly. The wound was deep, and she had lost a lot of blood. He used everything in his medical bag. He cleaned the wound, stopped the bleeding, and wrapped it tightly. Yura watched him the entire time. She had never seen a human work before. His hands were steady and careful. His face was calm, even though bombs were falling outside. "Why are you helping me?" "Why are you helping me?" she asked. Taeho did not look up from his work. "Because you are hurt." That is enough reason. Yura did not understand. In her world, everyone wanted something. Power, money, land. No one helped others for free. But this human asked for nothing. He simply worked to save her life. When he finished, Taeho looked around. The tunnel was not safe. He could hear voices outside. They were speaking in the harsh language of the Krath. If they found Yura here, they would kill her. Or worse, they would capture her and use her against her own people. We have to move, Taiho said. I cannot walk, Yura replied. Her voice was weak. Taiho looked at her for a moment. Then he turned around and knelt down. Get on my back. I will carry you. Yura was shocked. She was a princess. No one had ever carried her like this. It was beneath her dignity. But Taiho did not care about dignity. He cared about survival. Slowly, painfully, Yura climbed onto his back. Taiho stood up, feeling her weight. She was lighter than he expected. He adjusted his grip and started moving. For 3 days, Taiho carried Princess Yura through the burning forest. He walked at night when it was safer and hid during the day. He shared his small amount of food and water with her. He told her stories to keep her awake when she was too weak to stay conscious. Tell me about your home, Yura whispered one night. They were hiding in a small cave, and the stars were visible through the entrance. Taiho thought for a moment. I grew up on Earth, in a small town by the ocean. My mother was a teacher. My father was a fisherman. Every morning, I would wake up and smell the salt in the air. It was peaceful. Do you miss it? Every day. Yura was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I have never seen an ocean. Taiho smiled. If we survive this, I will show you one. On the 4th day, they encountered a problem. A group of Valorian soldiers found them. But instead of helping their princess, they raised their weapons at her. Princess Yura has been declared unfit, the leader said coldly. She was captured by the enemy. She is a disgrace to the royal family. Our orders are to eliminate her. Taiho could not believe what he was hearing. Her own people wanted to kill her because she was captured. Because she was wounded? She was not captured, Taiho said, stepping in front of Yura. I found her injured and alone. I have been protecting her. The soldier laughed. A human? Protecting Valorian royalty? You are nothing but an insect. Step aside, or we will kill you too. Taiho did not move. His heart was beating fast. He was not a fighter. He had no weapon. But he could not let them hurt her. Not after everything they had survived together. I will not move, he said. The soldier raised his weapon. Time seemed to slow down. Taiho closed his eyes, ready for the end. But the end did not come. A bright light filled the sky. A massive Valorian warship appeared above them. The door opened, and a tall figure stepped out. It was the Emperor himself, Yura's father. Stand down, the Emperor commanded. His voice was like thunder. Soldiers immediately lowered their weapons and knelt. The Emperor walked toward Taiho and Yura. His eyes moved from his wounded daughter to the small human standing in front of her. He said nothing for a long moment. You protected my daughter, the Emperor finally said. Taiho nodded. Yes, why? Taiho gave the same answer he had given Yura. Because she was hurt. That is enough reason. The Emperor studied him carefully. Then, slowly, he nodded. Take my daughter to the medical ship. And bring this human. He has earned a debt that the Valorian Empire does not take lightly. As the soldiers carried Yura away, she looked back at Taiho. Their eyes met for just a moment. She wanted to say something, but the words would not come. Then she was gone, disappearing into the bright light of the ship. Taiho watched until the ship flew away. He did not know that this was the last time he would see her for 20 years. He did not know that war would continue, that records would be lost, and that his name would be erased from history. All he knew was that he had done the right thing. And sometimes that was enough. The years passed like waves on a shore, gentle, constant, unstoppable. Taiho returned to his farm on Erith 7, but his life was no longer simple. Visitors came from across the galaxy to meet him. Students, diplomats, historians, and ordinary people who had heard his story. They wanted to shake his hand, hear his voice, and see the man who had changed everything. At first, Taiho found it overwhelming. He was not comfortable with fame. He preferred his wheat fields and his quiet mornings. But slowly, he learned to accept it. If his story could inspire others to be kind, then the attention was worth it. Yura visited whenever she could. Despite being the busiest person in the galaxy, she always found time for Era 7. She would arrive in her royal ship, but she never dressed like a queen during these visits. She wore simple clothes and walked through Taiho's fields, helping him harvest wheat or feed the chickens. "You know," Taiho said one evening, as they sat on his porch watching the sunset, "I never thought my life would end up like this." Yura smiled. "How did you think it would end?" "Quietly, alone, forgotten." He laughed softly. "Instead, I have a treaty named after me, and a queen who helps me pick vegetables." "The universe is strange," Yura agreed. "But I think it leads us where we need to be." As the years went by, the Taiho Accord proved stronger than anyone expected. Wars became rare. Trade flourished. Species that had been enemies for centuries learned to work together. The galaxy was not perfect, but it was better. Much better. And everywhere. Taiho's story was told. In schools on Valorian worlds. Children learned about the human medic who saved their queen. In human colonies, his name was spoken with pride. He was proof that their small species mattered. That one human could stand against an empire and change history. Statues were built. Books were written. Movies were made. Taiho became a legend, not because he wanted to be, but because the galaxy needed him to be. But time is cruel to humans. Taiho grew older. His hair turned completely white. His hands, once steady enough to save a princess, became shaky and weak. Walking became difficult. Breathing became harder. At 93 years old, Taiho knew the end was coming. He sent a message to Yura. Just a few words. "I think it is time. I would like to see you." Yura dropped everything. She left a council meeting with 7 planetary governors. She canceled a treaty negotiation that had taken months to arrange. Nothing mattered more than this. She arrived on Erith 7 within hours. Her ship landing softly in the wheat field that had grown back strong and tall. Taiho was in his bedroom, lying in a simple bed by the window. The evening light was golden and warm. Outside, his farm spread out in peaceful rows. Yura sat beside him and took his hand. It was thin now, fragile like paper, but she held it as gently as he had once held hers. "You came," Taiho said. His voice was weak but happy. "Of course I came," Yura replied. "I will always come." They sat in silence for a while, watching the light change as the sun set. The sky turned orange, then pink, then deep purple. "Do you remember?" Taiho said slowly, "when I promised to show you an ocean?" Yura felt tears forming in her eyes. "I remember. I never did." He smiled sadly. "I am sorry." Yura squeezed his hand. "You showed me something better. You showed me what kindness looks like, what courage looks like, what a good heart looks like. Those things are more beautiful than any ocean." Taiho looked at her. His eyes were cloudy now, but somewhere deep inside, they still held that same gentleness that had saved her life so long ago. "Are you happy?" he asked. "With your life? With everything that happened?" Yura thought about the question. She thought about her years as queen, the peace she had built, the wars she had prevented, the billions of lives that were better because of the choice she made to find him. "Yes," she said. "I am happy. Because of you." Taiho smiled. It was a peaceful smile, full of acceptance. "Good," he said. "That is all I wanted to hear." He closed his eyes. "Yura," he said softly, "thank you for finding me. "Thank you for saving me," she replied. As the last light of the sun faded from the sky, Taiho took one final breath. And then he was still. Yura sat with him through the night. She did not cry. Valorians lived for centuries, and she had seen many people die. But she had never felt a loss like this. It was as if a part of her own heart had stopped beating. When morning came, she stood up and walked outside. The wheat field stretched before her, golden and endless. Somewhere, a bird was singing. "I will not let them forget you," she whispered. "I promise." And she kept her promise. Queen Yura ruled for another 400 years after Taiho's death. She became the longest-serving and most beloved leader in Valorian history. Under her guidance, the galaxy entered a golden age of peace and cooperation, but she never forgot the human who had made it all possible. She built a Taiho Memorial Hospital on Era 7, right next to his old farm. It became the best medical center in that sector of space. Saving thousands of lives every year, she established the Taiho schools on every major planet, teaching children about kindness, courage, and the power of helping others. The schools had no entrance exams, no fees. Anyone could learn. She created the Taiho Foundation, which provided aid to refugees, victims of disasters, and anyone in need. It grew to become the largest charitable organization in galactic history, and in every Valorian temple, in every human church, in every meeting hall across the galaxy, his story was told. The story of a simple medic who found a wounded princess, who carried her through fire, who asked for nothing and gave everything, who proved that one small act of kindness could echo through centuries and change the fate of billions. On the anniversary of his death, every year for 400 years, Yura returned to Era 7. She walked through his wheat field. She sat on his porch. She watched the sunset from his window, and she talked to him. "The new school opened on planet Kira 9 today," she would say. "They named it after you, of course. The children love it." Or, "There was almost a war between the outer colonies, but we stopped it. We used the principles you taught me. We chose kindness over cruelty." Or sometimes, she would simply say, "I miss you." When Yura finally died, at the age of 732, she gave one final order. Her body was to be cremated, and her ashes were to be scattered in Taiho's wheat field. "I want to be where he was," she said. "I want to rest where it all began." And so she did. The galaxy mourned the loss of their great queen. But they also celebrated. They celebrated the story of Taiho and Yura, the human and the alien, the medic and the queen. Two people from different worlds who had changed the universe with nothing but kindness. Centuries later, their story is still told. In classrooms and temples, in movies and books, in bedtime stories whispered to sleepy children. It is the story of humanity at its best. Not conquering, not fighting, not proving their strength. Just one person, looking at another person in pain, and choosing to help. That is the legacy of Taiho. That is the legacy of kindness. That is the true power of humanity, and it will echo through the stars, forever. On the small planet of Era 7, the wheat field still grows. The hospital still heals. The farm still stands, preserved as a museum for visitors from across the galaxy. And on quiet evenings, when the sun sets and the sky turns golden, some people say they can still see them. An old man and a glowing queen sitting on a porch, watching the light fade together. Two friends, two souls, two hearts that changed everything. Forever.